What's up, Oliver?
Hi guys, and welcome to the show. And we have a special guest tonight, and his name is Jordan. And Jordan, how do you say your last name again?
Valladares.
Valladares. Oh, Valladares.
It's okay, folks.
No. Valladares. Anyways, Jordan, so what do we have here, man? What kind of food do you have?
So this is called a quena.
A quena?
Yeah, Quena. It comes from South America.
Sure.
It's typically made out of bamboo.
Bamboo?
Traditionally, yeah.
Okay.
Not just any bamboo, though. Normally in like South America, because it comes from like Peru,
right.
Chile.
Chile.
Bolivia is kind of the big three players of sort of the quena.
Right.
And yeah, it's typically made with like whatever bamboo is available there.
Right.
And actually, it used to be made out of condor leg bone. Did you know that? So a condor, right?
A condor?
Yeah.
You mean the big bird?
Yeah. No.
A quena.
It's a end-blown flute.
Right.
It just has a simple notch.
Sure.
Right? So you make the embouchure. And it makes sound, and it is from South America, from the Andes regions.
Right.
I think they say that the Inca were the first, the Inca culture, and all those people.
Right.
They were the first to create it, and they made it out of like a condor leg bone.
You're talking about the indigenous people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the Incas, and they would get like
These are we're talking about big birds.
Oh yeah, I mean they're the biggest. At least in the Americas, I think the biggest wingspan of all the birds. Well, to get a quena now, if you're not making it yourself, you could buy it on Etsy, eBay.
eBay, huh?
Yeah, there's different. I think there's some called Bolivia Mall.
Bolivia Mall.
Yeah, like it's.
Is that here in El Cajon?
I wish, because I would go get some. No, it's an online store from they get all the stuff from Bolivia.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's very possible to get.
Oh yeah, it's easy to. It's not hard to get. And it shouldn't be that expensive. I mean, you can get a decent one for like $50.
Probably like Amazon sells them too, right?
I think. Yeah. These ones are a little more specific. I gotta have another one, but it's kind of tuned a few cents lower than the typical standard. They call it Soul. Yes, or Walmart.
No way, right? No way.
No, that's not gonna. Not even Guitar Center.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You gotta find online and.
You gotta buy it online.
Yeah.
That's just a fact, brother. That's.
Yeah, I think eBay should be a good.
eBay, yeah, you can find it there for sure.
Cool. And man, tell me about a challenging piece you learned. And how did you approach mastering it, Jordan?
Well, the way I approach no.
Yeah.
I never really, I wouldn't say I've mastered any of the songs. I'm always trying to master, because it's like you can, I guess now would be a good time to kind of go to the backstory.
Right.
My dad originally, he came from Chile in...
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, in 76.
So he came here in 76, back in 76.
Correct, yeah. He left Chile.
Right.
And at that time, he was around, 14 or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That young?
Oh, yeah, he was fairly young. He was early teens or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so, he always grew up with that music in Chile.
Gotcha, okay.
And he wanted to learn how to play the quena. So he was originally the first person, at least in my family, to play the quena.
So your dad inspired you?
Yeah. And he would play the albums and all that for us when we were young.
Sure.
And I always liked the music. I thought it was always pretty cool.
Right.
And after a while, I was like, oh man, I want to try.
Wow.
Do my thing on it.
Wow.
Do my thing on it.
Of course.
And at first, it was pretty hard because you do have to make the embouchure and get that correct, and then you can make sound.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
He started. I think he even played on PBS or one of the radio, just a
Are
radio.
you serious?
Yeah, a radio.
You mean here in San Diego?
Yeah, in San Diego, back in like probably I would imagine the 80s.
Okay.
And
does your dad have some kind of recording on that from that?
no, I wish we had it.
Okay.
No. And so yeah, he.
That'll be cool to see.
It would. Yeah. But I think I think it was just audio on the radio.
Right.
Because he was in a group, a folkloric kind of music group.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it, I guess, in our family.
Right, sure.
He was the one that kind of started it and kind of passed the torch to me. And
exactly.
I started practicing probably around maybe interest I showed, maybe like 2012, like kind of like, oh, what's that? Like just starting. Then practicing seriously probably around 2014, trying to get into it. It's only within the last... You
were getting serious.
Yeah, like trying to like actually like, okay, how do I play this thing and how do I sound? My goal was always, how do I sound like the people I'm hearing? You know, I would never try and like, let me do 50,000 scales and let me do all these different, practice. No, my goal in the beginning and still to this day is how do I get the tone and the articulation.
That's good.
Yeah, and all that kind of thing that I hear the people that made the songs.
Right.
And how do I sound like them?
Right.
So yeah, probably around 2014 was when I started like seriously.
Wow. 2012 when you first started learning.
Probably when I started. I think that was around when I was like just try and mess with it a little bit here and there.
I guess your dad is very good too.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He didn't have a lot of the things that I have now. Like I have expensive Quenas.
Right.
He didn't really have those kind of luxuries.
Sure.
He just gave whatever he found at like the Peruvian, wherever he was, like a Chilean market or whatever. Right?
So I guess your dad is very proud of you. Right?
Yeah, he definitely is happy that I took up the instrument and had a passion for the music.
Good. That's kind of rare for a family to pass over.
Well, not only that, but you don't really see. Yeah, you don't really see this kind of music.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. Like I come here and play, and everyone's like, "Oh, what is that?" And yeah, you don't hear. And that's the hard part too. Is like, like everyone always asks me, like, "Oh, are you in a group or do you play in a group?" There's no one else to.
Describe a practice routine you developed that improve your skills as a flutist.
My practice has always kind of been just I'll set up like on my phone. I'll have my speaker and all that, and I would just play for hours the same song. Or 10 different songs, and I would listen, and I would say, okay. Then I would record myself and play it back and see, like, okay, how do I sound compared to how does Eduardo Carrasco or all these different kind of players that I enjoy? How do they sound? And I would always try and compare it and see what I can do better. But it was always just like this grinding, just tons of practice, same song for like half an hour. I would play it, loop it. So
you would lock yourself in your room and do things. Cool. Yeah. Good to hear that. Good to know that, Jordan. And how do you handle performance anxiety or nerves before a concert or show? Jordan? I mean, do you drink beer first or no?
A little scotch. I never. Well, for one thing, I've never really performed that much. Like I have done like a party or two, or I've gone to like I've gone to excuse me, a nursery, and I've played
nursery.
Yeah,
for kids.
Waterwise Botanicals, Tom Jesh. You guys want to go? I have played for him. But I would say whenever I'm playing here or for people, you do always get kind of like. A little bit of butterflies, I guess, but
that's normal.
Yeah, but no, I guess just practice. That's the biggest weapon against messing up or just keep practice. You have to practice before a performance.
Definitely.
So that's I guess my way of dealing with that is just how much I practice. So
yeah, you gotta practice, right?
Oh yeah,
and. Describe a situation where you face adversity during a performance, and how did you handle it? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
every night is not perfect.
No, I mean, yeah. The only kind of adversity I'd say I would face is like, you're playing and then you notice like, oh, I messed up a note, or I could have done that better. So
Right.
you're kind of thinking that while you're playing, but obviously, you can't stop and be like, okay, let me go back, folks.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't really work.
You can't,
well.
you can't rewind the tape.
No, there's no, there's no rewind button on the tape of life, brother. But I would say, yeah, that's kind of the only adversity I've really faced. As far as playing is just like,
Right.
maybe dealing with like, I don't want to say doubt or anything, but kind of like, you feel like, I just kind of messed up. But yeah, you just have to to go through it. And,
Right.
I don't know, just keep going, and it is what it is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And what influential flutists or instructors have shaped your approach to playing?
Sure. Well, there's several groups.
Right.
And they all kind of come from, I guess, maybe the 60s through like the 90s was their kind of heyday.
60s, eh?
Yeah, they go way back. I mean, then there's even groups before that, but
right.
there's Kila Payun, which is I played that song in the beginning. That was from them. Iyapu is another band. Well, let me explain. Inti Imani,
Right.
Los Harcas, Salvia Andina,
Right.
and all of those groups, they have different players, right? So there's Eduardo Carrasco.
Where is he from?
He's from Quilapayún, Chile.
Chile.
There's Jose Miguel Camus. He's from Chile. Gaston Guardia. He's from Bolivia. Alcedes Mejia, Salvia Andina.
Right.
Well,
a few, huh?
Yeah, there's a few. Another guy would be Jose Miguel Marquez, I think, is for the group Iapu. And they all have the cool thing about, and I guess it's really for any instrument, is like, everyone has their own style,
right,
and their own kind of tone that they get. Like you can tell, like, oh, that was that guy. That's the way that guy plays.
You mean like having a distinctive
sound, a distinct sound to your playing.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to incorporate those different, styles into my own.
Exactly.
I never tried to because some people, they're like, oh, let me reinvent my the wheel and make my own style, and I always focused on let me sound like the people that have kind of set the bar,
right,
and then I can focus on whatever I think I want to do. But I'm always happy, like if I sound close to, let's say Gaston Guardia, the way that he plays, or Eduardo Carrasco,
sure,
then I'm pretty happy with that, and those people have been the biggest influences on my style.
Wow.
More of a traditional,
right?
Because you see like a lot of the players now, and not all of them, but it's kind of like newer, more kind of like avant-garde, kind of like do your own kind of thing. And
so in a way, you want to go back.
Yeah, they're. I like how expressive they are.
You mean the older cats?
Yeah, the older cats. They knew what they were doing,
right?
And they kind of really set the bar.
Cool, man. And Jordan, have you heard of Jethro Tull?
Everyone keeps mentioning that.
Right.
I have heard of that, and people keep saying I should play that. Do they have like a transverse flute? Like the metal one?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or like a recorder?
I think
they must be playing flute.
They're like longer in a way, like
the transverse ones, right?
Right,
classical.
Right. And you mentioned metal. Is that metal?
Yeah,
metal?
those are made of metal.
Right. Okay, cool. So you have heard of him, but you never seen him.
I've never heard a song from him.
Okay, cool.
Am I missing out?
No, not well.
Not really.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, he was very popular in the 70s.
He was influential.
Very influential. I would probably call him a Ciroc flutist.
Sure. He did the flute playing?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Very progressive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jordan, so what specific techniques do you use to achieve a good tone on the flute, man?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of two schools of thought.
Right.
It all goes back to kind of the embouchure,
Sure.
Some people have a very tight, and I guess it all kinds of goes to how, what's the shape of your face.
Right.
As funny as that sounds.
Yeah.
But some people, they're very tight. I don't really play like that. I don't find that I get that sweet tone with it.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm looser,
Right.
more relaxed, I think that's a better tone.
Right.
So
nice.
that's part of what gives me a good tone.
Right.
You need to find the sweet spot and try and be relaxed.
Wow.
Another thing would be the vibrato. It's kind of like singing.
Sure.
You really need to use your diaphragm,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
how you can get that kind of fast
Right.
vibrato. Because
Right.
otherwise, if you don't support it or have the technique, it'll just sound like. Right, and then
Right.
you need to find the sweet spot and try and be relaxed.
Wow.
Another thing would be the vibrato. It's kind of like singing.
Sure.
You really need to use your diaphragm,
Oh,
and that's how
okay.
you can get that kind of fast
Right.
vibrato. Because
Right.
otherwise, if you don't support it or have the technique, it'll just sound like. Right, and that's kind of like, okay, that could work for some songs.
Cool.
But you want to get something like this. It's pretty typical for a lot
Sure.
of the old songs.
Wow.
Right, so that kind of
Right.
rate of the vibrato
Right.
is more of what I like to do.
Cool.
Depending on the song, but I can control it, so I can get a slower rate,
Right.
and that's what it's all about. Is kind of that expressiveness and finding your tone.
Gotcha. How do you train your ear to recognize different styles of flute playing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You have to. I actually I have a little app.
On
It's
your
called
phone?
It's called Music Speed Changer, and you can actually switch between which channel. So like, let's say the Quena player is on the left channel, right? I can switch all the way left to the panning,
Yeah.
and now I can hear. Okay, I can hear them exactly. Then if I want to go to the EQ, cut out some, whatever extra bass or
Got it.
guitar, I can cut that out, and I just listen to them. And you can slow it down. And okay, what was that? He kind of added a little bit of
Sure.
some flair right there, right?
Right.
So, okay, so I'm going to try and do that. Or, he sounds like he really cuts, depends on how, if it's like done properly, then, I don't mind someone telling me like, if they know what they're talking about, like let's say it was someone better than me,
Right.
hey, you could use improvement here or there, then I would say like, yeah, you're probably right. But if they don't know anything,
I will try that.
yeah, exactly. But if they don't know anything, then I would say like, go pound sand.
Exactly, man. Or F off.
Yeah, get out of here, man. You don't know what you do. Yeah, you don't know what you do.
Exactly, man. Do you have any advice for aspiring musicians, Jordan?
I wouldn't even consider myself a musician, to be honest. I kind of just mess around on the Quena, but I would say for any aspiring Quena players or charango or samponia or anything from South America, there's so many instruments. I would say it's definitely worth it.
Right.
It's one of the most beautiful music genres, in my opinion, to me, anyways.
Yeah, totally.
And I think like it's totally worth it to get into it,
Yeah.
and especially if you have family like that came from, in my case, Chile.
Exactly,
Or,
yeah.
it's always a good feeling when they see you playing,
Right.
and they're pretty like, wow, they're impressed by it.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah,
Being
and,
up there and you're.
and as far as a single piece of advice, I would say it's going to take a while. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's taken years just to get to the point I'm at, and I'm not.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm like Eduardo Carrasco or any of
Not
those.
yet.
Yeah, not yet, but I would say I'm kind of close.
One
And
day.
Yeah, and I would say like to anyone who's, they're discouraged, they've been playing for like 3 years of whatever instrument,
Sure, buddy.
and they're not satisfied with, just, you got to keep trying, and eventually it clicks,
Cool.
So there's always that kind of, you got to keep trying, you know, and eventually it clicks, you know.
Cool.
So there's always that kind of little like, oh man, it clicked, and you have that to look forward to when you're practicing any instrument.
Right. Well, Jordan, thanks for your time.
Oh,
you sound great, man. You sound great.
Thank you.
And all right, guys. Till next time, Oliver, Jordan.
Peace.
Peace.